Blessings, fam. This is your brother Zion. As you can see, I'm repping my Steelers unapologetically. But today I want to share something with you that's a blessing to me. I know it's going to bless you. Please share it with your followers out there. Tweet it, IG it, Facebook it, whatever you need to do. Get it out there. I know it's going to be a blessing. As we are approaching another year, especially in church, and we're approaching 2017 right now. In church, we have catchy cliches, religious formalities of, God's going to do this, God's going to do that. This year is the year, going to break through, going to break out, break over, etc., etc. And you get tired of all that. A lot of us kind of hoopla, just to kind of move the crowd like an MC, like back in the day with Nas and DMX. We've seen that before. God is moving, period. It's going to be a breakout and breakthrough, period, because we are the people of God. And we don't have to pump and pry and promote God. God is God for his people, and I believe it. I know this is going to bless you. In Genesis chapter 41, the life of Joseph. Here we see that Joseph was an interpreter of dreams. This was the gift that God gave him and that he walked in. And he found himself being wrongfully convicted and falsely imprisoned. And now he's in prison. But he's in prison now with the wine taster, which is the cupbearer, and also the baker from the royal house. So he was, in a sense, he was in a federal prison, if we could bring it up to date. So he interpreted the dreams of both the cupbearer as well as the baker. The baker died. He was executed. The cupbearer lived. He promised Joseph, listen, dog, I'm not going to forget about you, man. Anybody that can interpret that dream like you did, I'm bringing your name before Pharaoh. He got out and forgot about him. Years later, Pharaoh has a dream, and it tormented him. So he called for all of the magicians, all of the witch doctors, all of the soothsayers, all of the charmers to interpret this dream, and they could not. Then the cupbearer said, you know what? I am reminded of my frailty. I'm reminded of how forgetful I was, that there was a Hebrew that interpreted my dream as well as the one who was executed, the baker, and he was dead on the money. Okay, call for this Hebrew. Joseph came forth. After being cleaned up and shaved, he went to the royal throne. Pharaoh gave him the dream to interpret. He said, I know that you can interpret. He said, I can't, but God can. He interpreted Pharaoh's dream line upon line. He said, you're going to have 7 years of prosperity like you have never even known. You're going to be completely and totally blessed. But 7 years later, you're going to have such famine that you have never even seen before, that will utterly destroy the entire land of Egypt. My suggestion is that you will appoint a director over a particular program to save and to store 1/5 of the grain as well as other foods. Moreover, to select noble men over different regions and territories within the land of Egypt. If you do this, lives will be spared. If you don't, the entire land will die. So Pharaoh had a meeting with his advisors at the round table and said, listen, who's more qualified than this Hebrew, Joseph? He came back to Joseph, said, listen, I want you to be the director of our homeland security. I want you to be over every man that is over every region. They will come to you. I'm giving you my signet ring, which symbolizes my authority, that you speak as me, that you stand in my stead. He placed a royal robe on his back, gave him the chariot of the second in command. Whoever was in the second in command, they're no longer. They got moved out of the way, and now it's Joseph. They were commanded every time you see Joseph, you bow down prostrate before him. He said, not only that, I want you over my household and every one of my affairs, as well as Egypt. Even though I am the king of Egypt, I am Pharaoh, not one legislation will be signed, not one house bill will be brought to the floor without your approval. So what am I saying? That many of you found yourselves, like Joseph, in a dungeon of despair, a dungeon of demoralization, a dungeon of depression, a dungeon of debt, or a dungeon of divorce. You were doing fine before you met that dude. You were on your feet. You had your car. You had your own place, or you chilling at your mom's house. You're doing fine, getting on your feet. And then you met that dude and he destroyed you. He destroyed your credit. He destroyed your reputation. You were doing fine before you met that chick. You were on a roll. You were doing fine financially. You were doing fine spiritually, mentally, until you met that Jezebel and she destroyed your life. You were doing fine before depression. You were doing fine before that thing that came into your life that placed you in solitary confinement like a prison. But I want to tell you that the very gift that God has given you will bring you before individuals to enhance their lives, to bless their lives, to give them direction and to give them wisdom. And individuals will begin to open doors for you like never before. This is the time where every gift and talent that God has given you to enhance someone else's life, they're going to call for you. They're going to be people that cannot solve problems. They're going to call for you. They're going to be people that are having trouble in their mind. They can't get a prayer through. They're going to call for you. They're going to be many people that just don't know which way to go. They need sound advice. They're going to call for you. You may be a fashion designer. People are going to call for you. You may be a singer. People are going to call for you. There may be notes that come out of your mouth, unlike Beyonce or anybody else, but it just moves people's spirit and soul. They're going to call for you. You may be a songwriter. You may be an author. People are going to call for you. They're going to call you out of your prison and call you out of your debt and call you out of your disparity to enhance their lives. There's a gifting that's in you that's waiting to break out of that prison. And get ready for the call, because this is your time. Peace and blessings.